you? Is that you?
Hi, look. Whoever you are, stop this fool around, you hear? Who's in there, damn it?
This must be where the executioner was killed at the legend.
Hello, and welcome to the Scariest Things podcast, episode 3, season 1.
Hooray!
Yay! We made it 3 episodes. So the Scariest Things podcast is your gateway to horror, where we talk about the trends and tropes of the genre.
And you are?
My name's Eric Lee, and I'm your co-host with
Mike Campbell. Welcome.
Welcome. And we've been getting some great response from our fans and our friends, who may be the exact same thing at this point. But one of the things that we have found is, I don't really like horror movies, but you know what I do like is this movie. Is that a horror movie? And it's like, nah, maybe.
Is this your boss or your coworker or the guy that works in the parking garage?
Yeah,
perchance.
These are, people who are not either maybe they might not be movie fans, or they're just chickens, or they're thinking about it maybe a little bit too much.
Right.
So,
or maybe both. Or all three.
So
it's possible. It is possible to be a chicken, not a movie fan, and maybe just unsure about who you are.
And so I don't know what the hell they were doing listening to our podcast, other than they love to hear our golden tones. So what we're going to talk about today is it's going to be a little bit different than what we did the last 2 podcasts. And this is going to be the what is horror discussion. And I think it sort of tests the boundaries of what we would consider to be a horror movie. Does it need to be scary? Mm-hmm. Does it need to be gory? Mm-hmm. Does it need to be thematic in traditional terms like monsters and occult or ghosts or vampires?
Is your heart rate up over 160 beats per minute?
But that may be, it might not be a true horror movie if it has that as the, so if it gets your heart racing, is it a horror movie?
And your face is flush, and you don't want to leave the downstairs to walk back upstairs.
Then that is by definition a horror movie.
That is a horror movie.
But then again, what may be a horror movie to my mom or to Mike's kids is going to be very different than what I consider to be a horror movie.
Indeed.
It takes quite a bit to scare me and Mike.
We have a lot of scar tissue.
Yes.
We have a lot of scar tissue, and we're trying to scrape it away for you.
And you can keep it.
No charge.
So what we're going to do is we're going to bounce some... I'm going to ask Mike what a series of movies and whether he considers them horror movies, and he's going to do the same for me.
Right.
Now, my list right now is a little bit bigger than Mike's.
That's okay.
But I think this is going to be a real fun discussion because there's going to be some specific movies that my friends and colleagues have brought to my attention. It's like, no.
Not a horror film.
Maybe.
No.
Well, we'll bounce it off of Mike and we'll see.
Fat chance.
Mike might have a very broad definition in his mind of what a horror movie is.
Before we jump in, give me like 3 things that make a horror film for you.
I think
it can be an adjective.
It
can be a verb.
Yeah, I think it needs to
killing.
be. I think it needs to be fantastical to some degree.
Okay.
I think it needs to be. I think it needs to play on the boundaries of reality.
Sure. Fantastical, but not Tolkien-esque.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. Although,
different definition of
after last
fantastical.
week's episode, I think that we can find out that Mike might find The Hobbit to be a horror movie because he's apparently very afraid of dwarves.
I am. Boo.
And I have
scary.
I would say so. Testing the edges of reality. I think.
Right.
I think being.
It's got to be a supernatural, maybe quality.
It's a little bit. I mean, because
Sure.
that might be what separates it from being a thriller.
Sure.
Right. But then again, not all monster movies may be horror movies. Mm-hmm. At least
true.
not at my age. No, I mean,
Right.
there's some movies that don't qualify.
The Host, maybe.
Yeah, the host. Yeah, I mean that's a good one. Or
solid.
or the Relic. Or
Right.
there's some I love monster
Right.
movies, but
Yeah.
but I'm fooling myself if I'm gonna say Son of Godzilla is a horror movie, right?
King Kong versus Godzilla.
Right. Yeah. No, that's not that doesn't play as a horror film. Although I've got a deep affection for those things. I know a kaiju movie is a little bit too silly.
All right.
And I would also
So fantastical, number one. Number two.
Number two, it's got to be. I think there's a certain level. I think fear for the protagonists.
Sure. Right.
I think that
You got to care about him. You don't want him to die.
right, and or go crazy, or there's. But the challenge in a horror movie has dire consequences.
Right.
And I think that the success or failure of the protagonist is a life or death thing. Whether or not it actually happens in the movie, that's what I'm looking for.
Right. Okay.
And
number three. What is the third quality that makes a horror film?
Emotional impact.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think that if in the end I walk out of there and I think you were describing the heart racing 160 beats per minute.
Right.
If it gets my adrenaline up and
Right.
and the sweaty palms, or if there's a chance that I might not want to watch the movie because I think it just might freak me out.
Right. Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
There you go. But that's a but that does not.
or
But,
you
but, but, see that's one of the great jumping the gun here a little bit. But it is that Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer is a great question. It is not. It does not play on the fantastical.
No.
In fact, it is the exact opposite. It is
Right.
something that is trying to go a straight-on realistic depiction of a horrible sadistic guy.
And you really don't care about the protagonist.
No, you don't.
Turns out, serial killers, bad.
Yeah, it's like you're not
Not good.
and
Bad.
But Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, I will admit, I have not touched.
Really? You've never seen it?
I've never seen
Oh,
one.
we're watching it. That's it.
That
It's
is
on.
one.
It's on.
That's one. It's just like I don't know. It
It's
just
on.
seems. This
We're
is
going to sully Eric yet.
the Bridge Too Far movies. Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer is one of them, and there's some other ones like the old '70s.
I Spit on Your Grave.
Yeah, or Last House on the Left.
Last House on the Left.
They are the home invasion type movies. They sort of they're not fantastical, but they're horror movies. I mean,
Right.
and so it bends, and it really talks about that. But what makes the difference between that and Fatal Attraction,
Right.
right? Which I
Right.
don't think you'd call a horror movie.
Sure. But do you really care about Michael Douglas in the end of the day?
No, you care about the rabbit though.
Yeah, the poor rabbit. So fantastical. You got to care about the protagonist, and there has to be an emotional punch.
Yeah, an
There's
emotional
gotta be
punch,
something.
a fearful punch.
A fearful punch. All right,
Michael.
All right. So I have a much more simple calculation. It is this is the formula. It is fright plus dread plus gore divided by evil times demons and witches equals a great horror film. No, in all seriousness, I think I would probably agree with a lot of what Eric said. Is that I think for me the thing that really lasts is if there is an overwhelming sense of dread, like the protagonist, it's just they can't escape, which ultimately kind of like it creates this interesting supposition where you're like you put yourself in that position as the viewer, and you're thinking like, okay, this poor sap can't get out of this cabin, can't get out of this house, can't get out of this basement. What would I do?
Well, but to test that,
Yes.
okay, so there's this.
We're going to be doing a lot of testing today.
What's the James Franco movie where he's trapped in the canyon?
Oh, sure.
Right?
Sure.
He's trapped. You can't get out.
Right.
It's a survival story.
Right.
Now, survival story is a little different. Or Castaway, not
True.
a horror movie.
True.
But it is a component. If you add that plus fantastical,
Yeah, so you got my number two. There has to be. I would go a notch further than Eric, where he says fantastical. I would say supernatural, because I think like at the end of the day, I mean, somebody like Jason, somebody like Freddy, somebody like Michael Myers, they do have a supernatural quality, even though
You
they
can't
really
kill them.
You can't kill them, but they really are. They're serial killers. When you get down to brass tacks, but it does have a supernatural kind of component. It's not something that you would see in the real world. And then,
But then Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer?
whoa, tough one.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll get to that later today.
okay.
Maybe we'll get to that. I don't know.
All right.
Maybe I'll add it to my list. And then I think the final thing is so you have the dread, you have the supernatural, and then I think it doesn't have to be jump scares, it doesn't have to be lots of gotchas, it doesn't have to be don't turn around kind of stuff, but there has to be enough there that you in the theater are willing to lift your feet off the ground and try to put them on the chair
And curl into a little ball.
and curl into a little ball because you're so terrified that you can't take it anymore. So you got to have those three things. You get those three things, and I think you got yourself winner, chicken dinner.
All right. Bring it.
All right.
What have you got for me?
So number one, Henry Portrait of a Serial... No, I'm kidding. Okay. Number one, horror film, yes or no, and why? Donnie Darko, go.
Wow. Okay, so that puts it fantastical. Yes. I think
2001.
it's,
This is
2001.
2001 for
Right.
those of you that don't know
Well,
Donnie Darko.
Jake Gyllenhaal's coming
Yep.
out to the wide audience here.
Yep.
I'd say no.
Yeah.
I think it has. It's kind of creepy. But it's a psychological drama, and it's
Right.
got some things that are a little haunting about it.
Right.
But I'm not ready to go there for horror. I think
Okay.
I
you
think
care
it's-
about the protagonist.
I
Yes.
do, absolutely. I
Okay.
think it's a great film.
And it's fantastical.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I busted the nut.
No, I'm
but
with you.
What's your take on it? Do you think Donnie Darko's a horror movie?
I think it's on the edge. I think
Yeah.
it's on the edge.
Yeah.
I think it's like... I think it would be I think it's a good gateway kind of horror film.
Sure, like if you're-
it's like an easy way to slide on into the world of horror
once
without
you-
getting too deep into the world of horror.
And once you've gotten past Night Before Christmas, and then you can do.
Yeah, you can go to Donnie Darko.
All
All
right,
right,
what
number two. This is a film. Eric and I love this director. It's one of we talked about it in season 1, episode 1.
All right.
John Carpenter
Yes.
did a film in 1988 with the Roddy Piper
They
called
Live.
They Live. Horror film? Sci-fi?
Sci-fi film. I think it's an invasion. Okay, because this is a case where I think that the
You want to give us the premise? I can give you the premise.
I'll give
you
the premise.
So the premise is, for those of you out there that haven't seen They Live, the 1988 classic, this has basically this unnamed drifter who discovers that these space monsters are in fact concealing their appearance by manipulating, the collective consciousness of America.
and they're creepy looking
With money and greed and excess, and there's lots of sort of subliminal messages and using the mass media. Boy, we've never heard that story before.
Fake news.
Fake news. Using the mass media to control people's minds. So you're saying maybe yes, maybe no.
No, I think because this is, and I'm going to bounce another one, similarly one back to you, but
Okay.
I think this is one where I think this is more of an actioner, and I think it's because the relative power of your protagonist and their ability to deal with the situation in front of them. I think in a horror movie, there's a power struggle, and the villain or the antagonist is a lot more powerful than the protagonist.
True.
And that or at least until the protagonist finds the secret key,
Right.
the silver bullet,
Right.
to defeat,
Right.
to rise up and confront their fears and their monsters. I think in They Live, I think that the balance. I'm here to kick ass and chew gum.
Right.
And I'm all out of chewing gum. I mean, come on. And it's like, this guy's not afraid of him. So, you know, I think it's a fun sci-fi caper. I think it's a great action movie.
Super subversive sci-fi political thriller.
Right.
Maybe doesn't cut the mustard for horror.
No, I think it's not quite there. And I think
put it on the edge. Another gateway.
Yeah.
This is your first beer. Have a beer. And
first one's on me, kid.
See how things go. All right. The next one. I'm going way back.
Yeah.
Going into the Wayback Machine. 1935 Freaks.
Yes, it is.
Freaks.
Absolutely.
So this is it had the real feel of a carnival freak show because they used carnival freaks.
This was and this was the director from Dracula.
Todd Browning.
And he lost after this. He was persona non grata in Hollywood. I mean, this ruined him because this was banned by the MPAA. It was considered to be too disturbing. It was a brutal murder in it by the freaks.
And most importantly, it's where the Ramones got Gabba Gabba Hey.
Or actually one of the best tropes out there. One of us. One of us. So that is...
Can't beat that.
It's a scary movie.
All right.
It shocked and spooked people. There were some seriously dark undertones in it. It is no doubt a horror movie, and it's a great one.
Oh yeah. It's if you haven't seen it, get over the fact that it's in black and white, people, and get over the fact that it's an old timey movie because it's super weird and super freaky, and
it's a little. It's kind of heartbreaking.
Sure.
In a way, because you see these...
It's heartbreaking in the same way King Kong is, or Frankenstein, because you care about the monster.
Sympathetic monsters, absolutely.
Monster,
and they set up, and it's a great kind of a fairy tale kind of a thing.
Man's inhumanity to man.
Yes.
All right, so my second to last one is a 1971 film starring... I'm pretty sure Academy Award winner Dustin Hoffman. It's a Sam Peckinpah film. I think we actually saw this together. Okay. Straw Dogs. Have you seen Straw Dogs? I haven't
seen Straw Dogs.
Okay, we haven't seen it together. So this is Straw Dogs. This is a film involving a young American, Dustin Hoffman, his English wife, Susan George. They go to rural England. He's an astrophysicist, and they're basically bullied by the local community, and it culminates in there's a rape. They kill the local community kills the cat, the cat that they have. They actually show the hanging of the cat, which is just horrifying.
Yeah, I mean that's our bridge too far moments.
Bridge too far, but the film escalates into a bloody battle with Dustin Hoffman as the local community assaults his house. So
do you say?
It's a tough one because it kind of gets into that I think it's like, is home invasion synonymous with horror? Is home invasion tantamount to horror? Like, are they the same things? It's like you're in your home, you feel good, you're the protagonist, but all of a sudden shit goes wrong and people are knocking down your door, and you do ultimately have to put yourself into that. Like, what would you do? Would you grab the ice axe? Would you grab the hammer? Would you grab the gun? Would you grab the knife? Would you set the place on fire? Like, what would you do? So, yeah, it's a tough one because it hits a lot of the home invasion films in general. I think hit a lot of the elements, which is, I think, more often than not why they kind of get lumped into that world. But
like the one that I drew attention to in episode 2, High Tension.
Yeah,
home invasion. With a straight up horror. No question about that. What's the there's a current series, and I'm blanking on the but it's the national holiday. Everybody gets to go out and kill for a day. What's the
Purge?
The Purge.
The Purge.
Horror movie.
Purge 1, 2, or 3?
1, which is straight up home invasion.
I would go. No, I think Purge 1 is the closest to the horror. Purge 2 is like The Warriors.
Right.
It's like it's a straight up Warriors remake.
Or Escape from New York.
Yeah.
Or it felt like a John Carpenter movie to me.
Yeah. I'd say no, super solid thriller, not a horror movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Being billed as horror. Kids, you're getting duped. This is not a horror movie.
But it's got a cool premise.
Right.
I think the third one kind of jumped the tracks.
Yeah.
But the first two were good solid productions.
Yeah. All right.
So
hit me with your list.
Okay, so
Let's
I've got
go.
a bit of a longer list, but we'll see how long this plays out. So now
We'll go fast.
we'll try to go fast.
Or not.
Here's a question. Yeah, what if the monster?
Hang with
okay,
us.
yeah, this is along the lines of Freaks.
Yes.
If the movie's so old now
Right.
that it's become familiar and the creatures are no longer scary,
And you get excited about it, and you show it to your kids, and they say, "Dad, this is the dumbest thing ever. What are you doing to me?"
so Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Horror movie.
I love the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Straight up horror movie.
It is-
Because here, I'll tell you why. Because if you've ever been, and we talked about this in episode 1, season 1, if you've ever been in the water and wondered what that thing tugging below you was, there's some great underwater sequences. I don't know what the backstory is and the way they filmed Creature from the Black Lagoon or where they filmed it, but there's some awesome underwater
They filmed it in
sequences.
Florida, I think.
Yeah. Some great underwater sequences, up to and including. I think a really creepy scene where the female protagonist is in the water on her back, and the creature wanders right up close to her, and he's just about to touch her, which is, I think that's really
and it's
scary
got
stuff.
has the all-time best movie poster. That Creature from the Black Lagoon poster it's beautiful.
Yep.
I've got a soft spot for all those old Universal movie posters, and the companies, they don't make them like they used to. And
I don't want to spoil it, but I don't want to spoil this for maybe a later episode. I don't know that we're going to explore the Universal monsters, but I would say this is the best of the Universal monster movies. There, I said it.
it's my favorite. It's my favorite too.
All right, high five. Okay, number 2.
So, along the lines of They Live.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is action horror.
yeah.
Predator.
Ooh, nope. I'm just gonna say no. Action, just straight up action movie. I think it's just a straight up action movie. It's got a funny looking alien who's kind of a badass, but you never really feel, as you were saying earlier, you never really feel like any serious dread because these guys come armed.
Right. It's
I mean,
an
you
even
got-
up fight.
You got Jesse the Body, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Jesse the Body brings it,
Yeah.
and you got the Governator.
I would say
Two former governors. Two former governors
and
taking down the space alien.
Sonny. Oh God, the
Sonny Bono. Sonny
no,
Liston.
the character who played Sonny.
Sonny Chiba. No.
But he was the Native American brave.
Oh, right. Right.
He tried to run for governor too, but I think he was also a former porn star, and so that kind of held him back.
Yeah.
So
That happens. All right.
Okay.
Number 3.
Number 3. Okay, it's a weird movie.
Sure.
It is a. I couldn't sit through the whole thing.
Are we getting into the Eraserhead debate?
Eraserhead.
Oh, no. I got it right. No. I don't know. I don't know that any of the David Lynch films are horror films per se.
It's raining fetuses.
It's raining fetuses. I mean, Mulholland Drive has got some really strange scenes.
The chicken, its legs are kicking. It's just doing this. It's just imagery. I mean, it's like a Salvador Dali acid trip.
Yeah, kids, stay away from drugs. Don't do drugs. All right,
And warn you against Eraserhead. Okay, so a movie with no death, no blood. And this is a genre. Actually, there's a lot of horror movies that sort of fall into this kind of this.
Sure.
Well, I guess we asked the question: are they horror movies?
Sure.
Rosemary's Baby.
I'm going to say yes because it's got that, and I think I covered that in my
Supernatural.
my equation. It's got supernatural and it's got demons. It's a super slow build. I mean, Rosemary's Baby, I think, which was indicative of a lot of the films at that time. It was basically a joke. I don't mean joke in the pejorative, but it was a big, long joke that was told with a big punchline.
Right.
And you get to a punchline at the end of the film, and you realize that she's having a demon baby, and that there is indeed the satanic cult in the apartment building, and the husband was complicit in the whole thing.
But it's almost such a slow build, and it also goes to the fact that, your equation.
Yes.
There's no death, there's no gore,
right?
But it's a horror movie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. I say yes. I say yes to Rosemary's Baby.
Okay.
In fact, I don't want to date myself. Well, this will actually precisely date myself. My mom tells me she saw Rosemary's Baby when I was in utero, and
okay, so then
did
I write down the dates?
Dated.
Okay. So give us the date.
1967.
There you go. All right.
67, 68.
Going back to the Henry versus Henry
portrait
of a serial killer.
Yes.
So I think that's one. I think we established horror movie, despite the fact not supernatural. 7.
Ooh, 7. Yeah, I would give 7 a slight nod because it's the serial killing is so far fetched.
Right.
I mean, it falls into the same. I think it falls into the same category as
the artistic direction sort of pushes the boundaries.
The artistic direction pushes the boundaries. It falls into that kind of much like Saw, where it's so fantastical and almost unbelievable that the serial killer has concocted so many elaborate ways to go about doing this. I would say, I would put it in.
It stands with 1 foot in horror and 1 foot in thriller.
Right.
It straddles the line. I think it's a brilliant movie.
Yeah.
I think it's not for the faint of heart. It is
no.
And the funny thing, it's actually it's more what they tell you and what's put in your brain, like the lust killing. They can't show that on.
Sure.
That's just too much.
Right.
But still, when they describe it to you, you go, "Oh, I feel sick."
Right.
Right. So, okay. Next one.
Yes.
Jurassic Park.
Straight up no. Straight up no.
Because it's a science fiction action movie.
Science fiction action movie. It's like it's like Logan's Run. It's like Star Wars. It's it's a fun. I think that's the thing is that like if you swapped out like dread for fun, I would say sure, because at the end of the day, the people that are on an adventure, they're having fun,
right.
And while there is some dread, it's dread with a lowercase d.
Right.
So it's not dread with an uppercase d, where if people were getting torn apart limb to limb, and I'm not just talking about Newman getting torn apart. I'm talking about like if everybody was getting torn apart in a Romero-esque zombie type apocalypse.
There was a body count. The lawyer got lunched,
but the right people get it.
Yeah, that's right.
The right people get it. Yeah. So no to Jurassic Park. Boo. It's a good film. It's a good film. It's not a good horror film.
Bone Tomahawk.
Bone Tomahawk is. I'm gonna
caution, folks. Bone Tomahawk's a caution.
Yeah, this might come up in our dead undead lists at a later date. Who doesn't love Kurt Russell? I love Kurt Russell. You love Kurt. Everybody loves Kurt Russell, and did this film in 2015.
We just saw it recently. Yeah, it was 2014. I think it's 2015. Yeah,
2015. Yeah. It's a western involving cannibals, and it is above and beyond on the fact that it is way too long. It's not really scary.
It's 3/4 of a cowboy film.
It's 3/4 of a cowboy film, and then it's 3/4 of a cowboy film coupled with a bunch of unnecessary gore, or gore that's almost kind of a non sequitur. And you look at Bone Tomahawk, and you just think, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there is a warning to, or if you're curious, one of the most disgusting scenes you'll ever see in a horror movie happens towards the end of Bone Tomahawk, and it goes to what we talked about in episode 2. Great moments, There are very few horror moments in Bone Tomahawk. Mostly, it's talking
Right.
about rescuing their
Right.
their beloveds and
Right.
and cowboy talk.
Yeah.
And then a guy gets torn in half.
If you like gore, stick with it because you'll get some at the end.
It'll be there, but I don't know that it's not earned.
Right.
And so it's one of those awkward ones. It was described for us as a horror movie. It's in the horror section.
Yeah.
It's kind of not.
Yeah. I say not. Right.
Okay. So one of my colleagues who said, "Well, okay, I think Gone Girl is a horror movie." And I went, "Gone Girl? Come on," she goes, and she said, she's a crazy psycho. It's got this twist. It's a dreadful thing, and it's like, I don't think I can go there. I think that's on the outer boundaries, and I was like, it's like
I say Gone Girl is a very clever Harlequin romance. Not a horror film.
Right, not a horror film.
Not a
So
horror
put
film.
that one to bed. So that one's for Tiffany,
Yes.
who asked about that one.
Okay.
I was like, no, I don't think so.
Well, good
Okay.
good try, Tiffany.
Okay.
Try again.
Let's going to go to another film. Okay, more ghost story type stuff.
Okay.
No death, no blood.
Right.
The Babadook.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, The Babadook obviously was billed as a horror film, and it got a lot of hype. It got a lot of international acclaim. It's an Australian film from 2015.
Yeah, we saw that the same night we saw Bone Tomahawk, and
We
one of
did.
them was a lot better than the other one.
One was good, one was bad. One was dead, one was undead. Yeah, The Babadook is everything from the cinematography to the fantastical nature of this creature from a book coming alive to the pathos that you feel for the mom, this single mom who's just struggling to get by with this kid who's
Creepiest kid ever.
creepiest kid ever.
But he turns out not to be a bad kid.
He doesn't. Yeah, that kid. I will tell you. I know there's been a lot of child actors that have been nominated and received Academy Awards. That kid deserved an Academy Award. He didn't get one.
Yeah, but this was a film, and the reason why I put it on the table is that there were some complaints that they were promised a straight up horror movie, and they said this wasn't a horror movie.
Right.
It wasn't. It didn't suit some people's taste for violence and gore. And I thought,
Right.
no, this is and everything from the art direction and the colors. It's like, lady, all you need to do is do some pastels and things will look up for you.
That's right.
But
That's
she.
You don't have to have. You don't have to have. I guess the simple answer here is you don't have to have gore.
Yeah.
For a horror
Yeah,
film.
and this was an analog for depression and
Right.
psychoses,
Yep.
and it did it beautifully. It's really one to watch. It's a great one, and
Yep.
and another one of this new wave of great small horror movies that
Yep.
that will produce great directors. I think it's a woman who directed this.
Yep.
So
That's right.
hopefully some other good things coming from her.
See The Babadook, it'll scare your pants off.
Yeah, so that you can couple that with The Conjuring, another
Yes.
these ghost story type things where.
Don't watch them both the same night
Uh,
because you won't go to bed.
Yeah, Conjuring, honest to God, super scary without any gore or deaths.
Right.
So,
Yep.
last one.
Last one. All right.
Okay, and this is
Make it a good one.
So this is, and I saved the best for last because this brings up the question when we're coming to Oscar season.
Yes.
Some people will say that this is, there's two great Oscar-ish, and actually, you know what? I may have to backtrack on this one.
All right. The Nicole Kidman joint.
No.
The others.
Not the others.
Oh.
The Sixth Sense. Is The Sixth Sense a horror movie?
Ooh. Boy, that's tough because that was the film that really set M. Night Shyamalan on his way,
Yeah, and
right?
it's-
And that was the film that everybody said, okay, that kind of cast him as a horror director, right?
And I think it set some of these false expectations for his
Right.
other movies because people really thought. I mean, the Sixth Sense had some jump scares to it,
Sure, lots
But-
of jump scares, lots of dread,
and
no gore,
no gore,
No
death,
gore.
and
no
and
dead, no
the-
dead
lots of
people unless you count the dead people.
So but so Sixth Sense was nominated for Best Picture.
Oh.
So
Okay, got a nod.
right.
Got a nod.
And you know, and I think Silence of the Lambs won for
Right.
Best Picture. It cleaned house.
Right.
And that's another one. It's like it's a thriller, psycho killer, but then I think that's more thriller than horror movie.
Right.
Granted, that's a movie that my parents were able to sit through. My dad goes, "This is supposed to be a really good movie." It's like, Dad, I don't think you're gonna like this. It's like, oh, nonsense! It's gonna be great. It's got Bruce Willis in it. And Dad chickened out after 15 minutes.
Right.
Mom chickened out 5 minutes after that, and I was the only one sitting left. And I was just. I think we were spending time. It was like after Thanksgiving or something.
Right.
But that's like scary enough to scare my parents out of the room, but yet thriller.
Right.
Not a horror movie.
I will give Sixth Sense. I know this is the ultimate cop out because I think I've been pretty polemic with regard to every single film so far, but I'll give this like a half. Half horror, half not. That one, that's a good one to end on because I think that's like right on the
it's on the edges, you know.
Right
and so,
on the edges.
So, and we'd love to get your feedback about what you think is a on the edge horror movie, or whether you would want to send something to us to test the boundaries of what you think is a horror movie.
We are happy to explore and opine. All right, let's get to our favorite part of the evening, the Undead Dead.
Yep.
These are the films you should watch and you should not watch.
So
Undead being the film you should watch because undead things are cool. Dead things, not so much cool.
Dead things should stay dead.
Stay dead. What do you got for us, Eric? What is your
Undead.
undead pick of the week?
Unexpected, fun horror movie that sounded kind of goofy. This is a Norwegian film from 2010.
Ooh.
Troll Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Because it looked kind of like a kaiju movie.
Right.
Right.
And this actually kind of fits the theme of this week's topic, which is
on the edge.
Horror, not horror.
I'm calling it a horror movie.
I like it. I dig it.
I think part of the reason why it has some of the horror feel is that I think the horror genres, they live in the found footage shaky cam world.
Sure.
Right. There aren't many other unless you're Borat. Right. You're not doing shaky cam because you got enough of a budget to do it.
Right.
And I think there's just something unsettling about you're trying to document something, and these folks had a lot of fun. As a bunch of reporters looking for bear attacks that they thought were bear attacks in the Scandinavian mountains.
Turns out they were mythical
trolls. And when they first
not dwarves. Trolls.
and at first you think this is going to be like, the guy who did the Gnomes book or the fairies. It's like, no, these trolls are
they're legit.
They go out there and they
smash mouth trolls.
Grind your bones to make my bread kind of trolls. These guys, they were big, dumb, carnivorous, just fantastical beasts, and it was. And it was kind of spooky, but
kinda
it was
weird.
but fun. I had a lot of fun with that. Unexpectedly, it was one of those things like, give it a shot, and it was if you spot it on Netflix or on your what's left of the video stores out there, snag it.
I say yes. I say yes to Trolls.
Undead.
Yes. My Undead film is the 1973 George Romero classic. I got to give George Romero some love because I feel like I've been bagging on him lately.
You pissed on him last week.
I pissed on him. It's a film called The Crazies, which has been remade.
Mm-hmm.
It was remade, I'm thinking, in the 2013, 2014 era. But the original Crazies involves it's basically. And again, this kind of fits with our theme of the week because it's sort of like a science fiction horror action film about the accidental release of some sort of like biological weapon on the inhabitants of this small town, and everybody goes
crazy.
They go crazy. You don't really know what's going on.
Kind of like 28 Days Later, but not quite zombie.
It's a cult classic because ultimately you love all the characters. You hope they stay alive.
Was this his first movie after Night of the Living Dead?
It was his first movie after Night of the Living Dead. I think just right before Martin.
Yeah.
I think was the next thing up. Anyway, yeah, it's a good movie. It's totally worth checking out. I own it. I watched it recently. It's
The sleeper.
I think it holds up.
Yeah.
I think it holds up. All right. So, what is your dead film to stay dead, to be buried, to never be seen again?
This
It
is- This movie made me feel bad.
Oh no, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Haven't seen it yet because I'm too chicken. But this one was one that I should have known better than to turn on. And for God's sake, I thought it was on the Sci-Fi Channel in the afternoon.
What?
And I don't know how the hell they got away with it. Because it is one of the most viscerally disturbing, mean-spirited movies you will ever set your eyes on.
Sharknado is not a horror film.
No. Eli Roth.
Oh,
Hostel.
Yeah.
So this
Hostel's dark.
So
It's
you know,
dark
and I
one.
know there are some Hostel fans out there, but you have to be. I mean, you gotta like. You know, this is high torture porn. This is.
You got to be an extra crazy person to be into Hostel.
And this is it's a return to the what did the Brits used to call the video nasties?
Yeah,
right?
video nasties. Yep.
Which they would apply to movies like The Evil Dead, which I love.
Yeah.
Or Maniac or
Right.
Last House on the Left.
Yeah.
Movies done on the cheap because they were so, but they did and they were sensational and they were so hyper violent. It just made you felt dirty. You watch
Stay
this
away
thing,
from Hostel.
it's icky.
Stay away from Hostel. Don't get it. I agree with you on that one. That one is just a whole bag of nasty. Stay away from it. Stay away
So
from
what
it.
do you think should be dead and stayed buried?
Well, this is a tough one. This is one I'm kind of like I'm sort of on the fence with, which seems to be my theme for the evening.
That's okay. We're playing on the edges today.
Yes, it's a 1999 film by Takashi Miike.
Oh.
And it's a film called Audition.
Oh, well, okay. This is we have a history with Audition.
Audition, like it's really well done. It does have kind of a 1990s vibe to it, so you kind of have to get over it. There's, Miike uses in a lot of his films. He uses a lot of color and he uses a lot of sound in the same way that Dario Argento used color and sound, and so there's like a lot of vibrant stuff. But there is, speaking of crossing the line, some crossing the line scenes involving
What Mike's least favorite thing?
10-inch needle into, and I'm reading this, so into the soft, raw flesh beneath somebody's eyeball, which
like-
that was enough for me.
I think
10-inch needles into the eyeball and dwarves. Can't do it.
so.
Can't
This
do it.
is. I think we found one of Mike's bridges too far because we saw this, and it's a weird film because
It is a weird film.
because
Weird,
it starts
film.
out like a romantic drama.
Right.
For the better part of the first half of the movie, you don't see. It's like, and we were bemoaning the fact that there was no horror.
Right.
And when the horror came, it was
Too much horror.
too much. It was. I curled up into a ball, covered my eyes, and screamed, "Mike, what's happening? What's going on?" And Mike was. I don't know if he was watching it as well.
I was curled up in a ball saying, "Eric, what's happening?"
I recall that the phrase was "kitty, kitty, 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 kitty,"
Yes.
when she was sticking the
Which translates to deeper, deeper, deeper as she drove the 10-inch needle into the soft, raw flesh beneath his eyeball. Yeah.
and that was and the whole the third act was nothing but brutal torture sequence. So I think the moral of the story for our stay dead movies is stay away from the torture porn.
Yes, stay away from the torture stuff. It is. I will say it's a good film. It's a well done film.
Yes,
but
agreed.
Man, it is. Woo! It's a tough one to
Miike's
take.
got two of them. Oh gosh, Ricky the Killer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It sounds right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I won't after Audition. I'm not going back to Miike unless I get proper
Yes.
explanations. I do like some J horror, like The Grudge and
Ringu. Yes.
Ringu. Those are good.
Be sure to do your research before you jump into Takashi Miike.
Yeah, if you're just pulling off the shelf, is you've been warned.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks for joining us this week.
Until next week, stay away from that creepy clown doll on your shelf.
Matthew, is that you?
Hi, look. Whoever you are, stop this fool around, you hear? Who's in there, damn it?
This must be where the executioner was killed, if the legend.